Willie D Live.
So I guess the whole sex change thing is out of the question. Like if you wouldn't be down with changing this whole sex.
Not at that age. If you came to me with like that,
If hold on, let me, okay. If your daughter came to you at 21 and said she wanted to change her sex, you'd be down with that?
it would be a conversation. I would talk to her about it. I would have her. It's a
Would you try
sex
to
change is
persuade her
it's
against it?
sex change is well, it depends. It really depends. If I've noticed over her upbringing and things like that she really, exhibits those, because I've been in teams where we do the sex change operations, and that's a process. It's not a someone wakes up and wants to be a female or vice versa, and that just happens, right? You have to meet with psychiatrists, psychologists, things, people that are way more qualified than me to have and knowledgeable to have these conversations and see if this is something that's, a passing thing, or is it something like, no, yeah, your daughter really identifies as male or whatever it may be. Right, so it would be a process, and I would have her have like the best care and meet with everybody to like make sure that this is something that like she really, really wants to do and understands all the consequences and everything that goes along with it. In addition to that, if someone were to want that, it's you wouldn't go straight to like, let's say, changing your reproductive organs, right? It's you start off slow. You start off with meeting the psychologist, psychiatrist, taking some medications to either feminize or masculinize. It's a whole process, and a lot of people during that process realize, yeah, this is not something I want to do, right? So that's why it's not a 100 yes or no answer. It's more of a conversation and meeting with the right people and doing all that before undergoing that, and that would be once, she's old enough to understand the repercussions and what it all entails. Someone that's like 13, 14, 15 doesn't understand any of that.
Yeah, I was just trying to put myself in the same situation, and I'm thinking to myself, it would be a conversation, but it'd be a long conversation. I'm talking about the conversation would last about 30 years. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, all right?
Yeah.
Hey, look, after you graduate college, we're going to talk about that. Look, when you get married, when you find your husband, get married. All right, now, after you have children, now you got to see if you want these children. If you want to have children, okay, you have these.
Just kick the ball down the road.
Yeah, man, I'd be kicking that can down the street. I'd kick it down the street. Speaking of consultations, what's the process when someone comes to you for plastic surgery or cosmetic surgery?
Well, they initially start talking to Kristen, my patient care coordinator. She is a great resource. She'll she's coordinating, so she holds her hand almost the entire way until they have their surgery. She's still available after their surgery, but at that point, the hand holding passes by to my clinical team, which includes nurses and assistants and things like that, to make sure that they are well taken care of from a clinical standpoint. Whether their drains are putting out enough, their incisions are healing well, things like that. Whereas more like a clinical viewpoint at that. But before, once they start having that conversation with Kristen, she'll have a lot of either sometimes phone conversations, sometimes even FaceTime conversation, things like that, texts of going back and forth, talking about what their goals are. This is what I'm thinking. I've been wanting this for like 10 years, and they establish almost a relationship. She almost becomes best friends with each and every individual patient. And then after they decide, okay, yeah, I want to come see Dr. Arroyo, then she'll set up that consultation, and she'll be there also, kind of holding their hand the entire process, walking them into the office, again, having that conversation beforehand with like all their medical history, things like that. And then she'll come get me. She'll give me basically the whole story. So by the time I walk into the room and actually, let's say it's you, I meet you, I already know half of you, right? I already know all you've told Kristen, your medical history, why you're doing what you're doing, whether it was because you had kids and now or you had gynecomastia or whatever it may be. And I walk in there and basically meet you. And even though she tells me all that story, I always like hearing that story myself. So I always kind of, ask them what their motivation is and everything like that. And then I do the whole examination to really see what is needed. And then I give my recommendation of, okay, this is what I recommend for you. If you were me or if you were my brother, this is what I would have you do. And then I'll show you before and after pictures. I have a lot of like different diagrams and different like almost like cartoons where I can draw and like show you, okay, this is what's going to be done.
Yeah.
And then from then on, then she'll, continue the process on.